This is the WCIA-3 Morning Show, live on My CFN-TV.
Thanks, Robert. A favorite childhood story is given an adult twist. Andrea Jones, author of Hook and Jill, is here for today's News in Depth. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, when I was first telling everyone about this book, they said, who's Jill? We always know Wendy. Explain who Jill is.
When Peter lures Wendy to the Neverland, he wants her to tell stories to the lost boys. Wendy is a storyteller. And when she gets to the Neverland, she discovers that her stories have come true. For instance, Captain Hook is a real person.
Right.
And she has to come to terms with the fact that she created him, and she is responsible for his presence in the world and his behavior. But to answer your question, Jill is a pirate queen that Wendy made up in her stories and told to the lost boys. And when she gets to the Neverland, Jill comes to life as well.
Okay, so this is really an adult version. Talk about some of these adult themes in here.
Peter Pan has a lot of things underlying that don't come out in the children's story. One of them is the sexuality between Wendy and Peter, and another is Wendy has a fascination with Captain Hook. And I can bring all that out, and J.M. Barrie didn't, because it wasn't that kind of story. I saw the 2003 movie, Peter Pan, with the live action, and that had a real boy playing Peter Pan. That was the first time I'd experienced a real boy being Peter, and it just brought it to life. So there is also a Jungian psychology background in the story. Peter has a shadow. And that's very big in Jungian psychology. When you have a dark side and a light side within a personality, everyone has one. Peter is split off from his shadow. It actually escapes from him. He never acknowledges that he has a dark side, but he does. He really does. And of course, Captain Hook, being the character that Wendy created, is Wendy's shadow side. And she has to learn how to accept him and deal with him as part of herself. And that's part of the growing up process. Wendy accepts responsibility.
And even the lost boys start to grow up.
Yes, they do. Because all children except one grow up. That's the first line of Peter Pan.
It is. You're right. How did plays like Wicked really play into this book? Because that took a traditional story, a children's story, and went beyond and delved deeper as well.
Well, how it dealt with my story is not at all. I didn't even know Wicked existed until I finished. I spent 6 months obsessing and deeply involved in writing the manuscript. And afterwards, I discovered that someone else had written a fairy tale for grown-ups. And I was very surprised, but I did read the research. I read Wicked, and I have read the other Oz stories, and it's a fabulous world. I equate L. Frank Baum with J.M. Barrie. And I think those two were truly masters of the fairy tale.
What do you think it is then, as adults, that we like to see these traditional stories rewritten from a totally different perspective?
Well, it's wonderful to be able to enter into the land that you thought was forbidden to you. That's a big part of Peter Pan. J.M. Barrie has this feeling of loss, that once you've left the Neverland, you can never go back. But I've changed all that. And I say to grown-ups, welcome back to Neverland.
Where can people get this book here locally?
Locally, it is available at the Illini Union Bookstore, at the Jane Addams shop, and at the Heartland Gallery. You can also get it from any major bookseller. Okay,
very good. And you've been kind enough to provide one copy for one of our viewers. So we are going to take a caller right now. This will be caller number 3, and you can get your copy of Hook and Jill by Andrea Jones. 373-3650. Andrea Jones, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Fair winds
and we'll put this information on our website as well. You can see the interview again at IllinoisHomepage.net. Click on The Morning Show and News in Depth.